SON. I apologize for holding up other people's testimony for not filling my green sheet. I wasn't planning on testifying today. My testimony is going to be a little bit different than everyone else's. I've just been taking notes today as other people have been testifying. There's a lot of people here who have some very legitimate and time-sensitive concerns. The line of commentary earlier on how to get involved was pretty frustrating and pretty disheartening to a lot of folks in this room and different channels that people who are associated with this effort. It was pretty upsetting to hear that, because I know for a fact, and Senator, I have the utmost respect for you, but I hope I can be candid with you here. I know that your office has been working directly with folks for months since last year on this issue alone. And that's just for this legislative session. These people have been showing up for a long time. They have been here. They have been testifying. They have been trying to work on this legislation. And I think an important note of interest as well is senators who are elected to represent their constituents. They aren't elected to represent lobbyists and the people who are paid to show up here and testify. And every single person in this room here today is just a normal citizen and not a lobbyist that's showing up here out of their day, whatever they've had to do on a Wednesday, to make sure that they can come here. So it was really disheartening to hear that earlier on. Obviously people are invested in this. There's a plethora of astute individuals who can work on this and are willing to help with the legislation, but it's not their job to write the legislation. It's your guys' and your office's job to write that legislation. So I just had to voice that frustration. The second component is we're literally no further along on any of this than we have been in months or years, for that matter. We're in the same place, and we haven't gotten any movement on this whatsoever. We just keep hearing things like, well, maybe we'll get it right next year, or maybe we'll tackle it next session. For your situational awareness, early voting for the elections in Lincoln, Nebraska has already started. And this is for any race throughout the state. Voter ID was passed last year. There's been no vote on that at all, which, and you might want to confer with your legal counsel, I think would make those elections unconstitutional. We're running an election right now. Early voting has already started, and you haven't even addressed the voter ID that was passed last fall. I mean, it's just ridiculous. The last thing I want to say that I hope is on the record is that Secretary of State Bob Ebman is one of the most feckless and incompetent leaders in Nebraska. It's a dereliction of duty what you guys are doing, and to say that people aren't here and aren't invested and aren't showing up and aren't willing to work together on this issue is patently false.
All right, I'm not going to ask the questions because I usually sit here and I pretty easy to get along with. You managed to piss me off. We're going to have a discussion before you go anyway. All right, here's the deal, okay? My office has been open, and I've invited folks in, and we've had long discussions, and we've worked on a lot of issues. Now, I didn't have to do that to the entire state, and I've opened it up to everyone. So, we have made progress on issues. If you want to talk about voter ID, we've been working on voter ID for a long time. But we're only going to get one shot at this. So if we just fling something out there, and it's unconstitutional, all the work to get it on the ballot is gone, and we lose that opportunity. So it's my job to make sure we get it right. Now, I understand, you don't like it. Quite frankly, I don't care. I'm going to get it right, and you're going to not be happy with me. Y'all going to live with that, okay? But when you come in here and you unload on us, and you don't understand all the pain we go through to try and get what we get right, it's disingenuous on your part to do that, okay? Because there's no way to just make legislation overnight. It's a long, hard process. You got to get two sides to agree with this. And we're trying hard to get there. Now, if there's been someone in here that we've been less than kind or helpful to, but when it comes to writing the legislation, you need someone to actually help do that. And I understand, you can come in here and have all the testimony you want, but when the time comes to write laws, you can put it all on us, but we're not gonna get it right. And if you remember right when we first started, that was the complaint, like, well, I like 808, but it's just written wrong. If it was written right, I'd support it. Well, how do we get it right if someone doesn't come in and help us understand what right looks like?
Well, Senator, again, with all due respect, and I 100% appreciate you, Senator, I just have to say, you're working with the wrong people on this. You're working with folks like Bob Evnan, you're working with folks like Julie Slama to work on this. She puts forth 575 and things and totally screws up this whole process. And you know that's true. You're playing, it's politics is being played. You're getting pressure from one side, from folks at the top, and then you're getting pressure from the second house. And you have good bills here, you have good bills here. The language is written correctly from your colleagues, but not from the top, from the other side that you're getting the pressure from. And so you're stuck in the middle, and then you're left to play politics, which has happened now for what, 47, 48 days? And it's a disservice to the rest of Nebraska. And so it's a disservice on this issue specifically as well.
Yes, certainly.
Thank you, Senator Brewer, and thank you, Mr. Petersen, for coming to testify and all of a sudden deciding to testify. That's your right, and I appreciate you doing it. And I'm glad I pissed you off enough to do that by inviting people to come and help us out. So we have not heard from some of these people to come and help us out, so I'm just inviting people. If you want something in this, please come and tell us. And that's kind of what the second house is doing, because I do believe in the second house. I strongly believe in the second house. And we have to find 33 senators out of 49 to get this passed. How do we do that if they don't agree with what is in the bill that is coming? If we find 32, it doesn't work. It doesn't get passed. So, and you know, we started in January on this. It takes time for this process to work. So if we don't get it done right off the bat, I'm sorry, but it does take process. We're not playing politics, but we're working with the system. And this is the system we have. We have to work within the rules that we have. So, but I do appreciate you coming.
With all due respect, Senator, for the record, I want to say that you personally haven't pissed me off.
Okay.
And two, I would like to say that the system is broken.
Okay.
Sure.
Additional questions? Geez, you've been gone so long, I forgot your
I
name.
know, it's the last day of hearing, so it's
No, and
running
you
around
had
taking us.
two briefings today,
Yes.
did you?
Yes, thank you so much. Thanks for being here, Mr. Petersen. And I know it's always fun to dunk on registered lobbyists, but we have registered lobbyists for all different kind of ideologies and interests all across the state that have a right to associate and petition their government. I just wanted to clarify, are you a registered lobbyist?
I'm not.
Are you paid on behalf of your organization to be here?
I'm not.
Okay, thanks very much.
Okay, any additional questions? All right, thank you for your testimony. Okay, next testify